Okay, so I hope everyone is having a great day. I hope your week has been going great so far. Um, I cannot believe that it's already Wednesday, but I've also thought it's been Thursday all day. It's a weird place to be. I don't know, but I'm glad we're able to come together here and talk about this because it's something I've been seeing really commonly, and I think I there's a few videos that I've done about it, but I think it's really important that we just kind of hone in on it again and kind of revisit. So today we're going to be covering justifying and quiet habits versus worth it moments. So I know a lot of you guys on here are new. So in the Chronic Confidence Academy page, there is at the top the announcements. There's something pinned that's called the worth it question. Some of you, I may have directed you there already, but we're going to go through it today as well. Printed them out. We're going to cover them, the science behind them. But I want to talk about what a quiet habit is. A quiet habit is basically a worth it moment that we're justifying often. I would always joke that my dad, I had been trying to change the way he eats for like my whole life, basically. I really think that's kind of where the urge to help people and work in this area even came from. Like I found old emails back when I was 15. I was like sending him meal plans and stuff like that. But the running joke was that he says he doesn't eat badly. Um, he'd be eating like a chicken parm sandwich, let's say, like a really big chicken parm sandwich all to himself. And I'd say to him, like your blood pressure, or he was borderline diabetic, things like that. I'd be like, maybe try taking the bread, like just having the chicken, or maybe have half and save half. Cause I'm talking like a fried chicken Parmesan sandwich this big for someone who's had a triple bypass surgery is like not the best way to go. And he would be like, oh, no, I've been doing good. I don't remember the last time I ate this. So the running joke was that every day it was something new that he doesn't remember the last time he's ever indulged in this. So it was like a new this every day, which ended up not serving him any better than if he was eating that chicken parm every single day. So justifying is tricky because nobody wants to feel ashamed, and no one should, by the way. But we kind of learn as we go to justify things and to make it seem like it's a worth it moment because maybe we don't know a different way. Maybe we're just not accepting the fact that it's different for us, even though it's not necessarily bad. There's a lot that goes into that. So I'm not knocking that. But I want to stop and go through the worth it questions with you first and foremost. So I have them pulled up here. If you guys want to pull it up on your phone or whatever, it's pinned to the top of the Academy page. But the worth it questions I recommend to people. Oh my God, I'm like dying in here. We have no air conditioning in here. I don't know how this progression to summer happened so fast. So if you see me like red and splotchy, that's why. I'm not cracked out, I promise. So the worth it questions, I created them so that it's kind of like by the time you get through them on your own, you kind of come to your own answer. And I always like to start out with the example of, would you want to just eat a McDonald's burger bun? Just your average, like it's not that special, it's not that great, it's like soggy. It's just a McDonald's burger bun. Why would you pick that when you can have like a nice crusty Italian, ciabatta or something like that? So these worth it questions were kind of meant to kind of map it out for you to see so that you don't feel like it's like, no, I shouldn't have that. It's more so like a, why would I have that kind of thing? So number one, is this a special event that holds a sentimental place? The reason that this is number one on the list is because that's usually the case. Whenever it's a worth it moment, it's a place you love, it's a party, a restaurant, it's something that you like that leads you there, right? Do you look forward to it is number two. Number three, is it something you rarely have access to? Now, if you notice, I'm not talking about the event or the restaurant. I'm talking about the food itself at this place. The food itself, do you look forward to that food? Is that food something you rarely have access to? Why do you want it? Is it out of boredom, or is it out of convenience, boredom, hunger, a social event? You know, try to get clear on why it is that this is having a pull on you. Um, is there a substitute you wouldn't mind having? And that doesn't mean like, you know, if you're craving cake, go get yourself a bowl of cantaloupe and think that that's going to be sufficient. Ain't nobody ever going to like cantaloupe as much as cake. I am certain of that. And if that's the case, they haven't had good enough cake. But would you feel regretful if you don't have it? That's a huge one. If you're going to go home and be thinking about it all night long, that you should have had it, you wish you did, how much it sucks that you didn't, that's just setting you up for a binge. Is it worth feeling inflamed tomorrow? And then in parentheses, it's okay if it is. So I'm very much, I come from the place of, these are the repercussions. This is what comes as a result of having it. If that's worth it to you, then that's fine. There shouldn't be there shouldn't be shame, but we should be acknowledging the ramifications of our actions. So if you know, okay, if I have that, I am going to be puffy, I am going to be inflamed, I am going to feel more tired, you know, whatever that food has, whatever effect that has on you, make sure when you're making your worth it choice that you take that into consideration. You guys, a lot of you know this by now. I'll never condemn you for a food choice ever. I just want everybody I work with to understand that we can make that food choice. And sometimes it is worth it. Like, I use this example all the time. If ever I'm in Philly, I'm getting a damn Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It's like, I don't care. But I know that it's going to like wreck my stomach the next day. So that being said, when I make that choice, I know to clear my schedule the next day. Like, I plan when I'm going to Philly and I'm going to have access to a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Kind of dangerous because I just found out my favorite place in Philly offers delivery. So it's going to be interesting, but it's a different topic for a different day. Can you have a small amount of it and be satisfied? That's another big one. You know, I want you guys to realize, like, there's nothing wrong with tasting something. If you want to taste something, like, you can enjoy and appreciate the flavor of something. And unless you have colitis, gluten is like my biggest trigger. But let's say gluten for you guys is just a hormonal reaction. Well, not just, but it's a hormonal reaction where it'll suck a little, but it won't be necessarily detrimental to your whole day, right? Why not have a bite of something your significant other, your friend, your family, whatever? Maybe wait till the pandemic's over before you're sharing food with people. But, you know, like, why not have a little bite or a little, like a few fries or something like that, and not necessarily need to make it a portion of your meal or something for you to be filled by, but something you can appreciate the taste of. It's not crack, you know, like, you know, it's just, it's food. We want to remember, don't, like, take that food off that pedestal. Okay. Did an emotional decision bring you to this? And this is a reason that this is the last question in this lineup, because I really want this to be drilled home. Did an emotional decision bring you to this? Stressful day, vigorous workout? Did something justify this food as a prize, punishment, pressure from others, failure, earned, or out of spite? You know, usually a food choice comes from one of those if it's not truly a worth it. Because then it's just, there's a cause and an effect. It's not that you're choosing that food. I can't tell you how many times, like, I used to do this too, and when I first started, and if it's, let's say, a birthday, I would be the one to be like, well, it's my birthday, so screw it, I'm gonna have, like, and it wasn't even about the food, it was about the day. So let's go back to number one here. Is this a special event that holds a sentimental place? Yeah, let's say you're going to a festival, or you're going to a special party that happens once a year with, you know, your family. I'm trying to think of relevant topics with COVID going on, but it's some kind of a sentimental thing. And that being said, there is something there that you eat that isn't hormone friendly, and you know it going into it. That's a worth it. You've planned it. You've thought it out. You've taken it into consideration. You're not going to this sentimental event or place just saying, this is my license to eat whatever I want because it's a worth it place. Your body don't care if it's a worth it place. So if you're going to be putting your body through something, you want to make sure it's worth it. You want to make sure that food is worth it, because you could still enjoy the sentimental place. And it doesn't mean that things that aren't hormonally helpful need to be a part of that necessarily. Do you look forward to it, meaning the food? You know, I'm trying to think of an example. There is a churrasco place where they bring you like the meat on the skewers to the table. Like my favorite thing in the world. I love eating at churrasco places, but they have the most incredible cheese bread and flan. And the cheese bread's actually gluten-free by default. It's some Brazilian cheese bread that's like so good. I know this, but so when we're going to that restaurant, I'm not going to not have the, sorry. Someone up the block is closing their car door. I'll have to excuse my dogs. Hold on. I'll close my door. Just so you guys know, sliding barn doors are not very soundproof, but it helps me feel a little bit better. But yeah, if I'm going to that churrasco place, I'm not going to not have that. I'm looking forward to it, you know? Is it something you rarely have access to? Sometimes there's places you rarely have access to because they're just far, inconvenient, whatever. And sometimes you make it harder to have access to those places. Like if I wanted, well, before all this, if I wanted, I could go over to the churrasco place. It's like 20 minutes away, no big deal, you know? But I would reserve it for special occasions, knowing that I don't want to be in a situation to go and have to say no to the cheese bread or the flan or anything. So I'm going to wait for my worth it moment before going there. Why do you want it? Convenience, boredom, hunger. You know, I feel like we've all had moments where one of those things has prompted a food decision. So that's pretty straightforward. You know, nothing outside should be making you choose that food. It should be 100% of your own choice, your own preference. Let's see. Is there a substitute you wouldn't mind having? I mentioned it before. Don't try to substitute cake for cantaloupe and then be upset with yourself when you're just still have a hankering for that cake. Try to find a substitute that you like. Did you try a substitute and you didn't like it? Okay, there are so many more out there. You know, think about what your results are worth to you. Why do you want them so bad? Well, why do you want to know what it's like to not feel the way you are right now? You know, isn't that worth testing out a few batches to possibly find something that's your go-to that you can have as much of as you want of and it not affect your hormones badly? To me, that's a toss, like that's a good trade-off, you know? So try to find the substitutes you really enjoy. Nutrition, you guys, I swear to God, one of these days they're going to offer me like some kind of royalty for plugging them as much as I do. But I just love them as a service, like super fast shipping. I'm hearing of people getting their orders within a day. Like it's just nuts and cheaper than anywhere else. So those of you who are new, Nutrition, Netrition, nutrition.com is like a mega store for anything replaceable, like candy, cakes, cookies, ingredients, pastas, rices, breads, like just any baking ingredient you can imagine, and super cheap. So cheaper than Amazon, cheaper than stores. So I love it. Will you feel regretful if you do not have it? If you leave that situation and you are still thinking about how you wish you had that thing, then I want you, this is your action step, I want you to actively find something else that you enjoy eating. Like maybe it is fruit. Maybe, you know, you want to have some sugar-free chocolate or something like that. But don't let that yearning continue. That's going to build and build and build. And the next time you're stressed and somebody else has something around that isn't the best for your hormones, it's going to be very easy to seek comfort in that food. So if you happen to leave, you know, you said, no, it won't bother me. You said, no, it's not a worth it moment. But you leave and you are pondering it, make sure you fulfill that craving, that hankering in a way that helps. because that's what nips the binge in the bud. Is it worth feeling inflamed tomorrow? We went over that. Small amount of it, we went over that. Emotional decision justifying this. If you have a long day, you have a stressful day, your body's not going to congratulate you for pouring fuel onto the fire. Your body is not going to congratulate you on sabotaging things or making yourself feel worse or creating a situation where you're going to feel immense amounts of guilt or shame. That's not going to make your day any less stressful or any better. It's a momentary satisfaction. And it's largely, I mean, this past week, I had focused a lot in my Instagram posts about hormones, like specifics of how it affects our food behavior. You know, so take that blame away from yourself. If you're really craving something, understand it's just that much more important for us to figure out your hormones so you can feel freedom from the types of cravings you have, the intensity of those cravings, and make all of this a lot easier. All right, so stop. The biggest lesson I want you to take away from that is, if you have to create a situation, or you have to create an excuse, or you have to create some kind of story to justify the worth it moment, it's not a true worth it moment. And if you're faced with that and you're like, yeah, but what the hell else do I eat then? Reach out for help. Nobody's expecting you to know what to do. In the past, you would have just eaten it. So that's why we're all here, you know. Send me a text, post in the page, post in your group chat, you know, seek help for those moments, because help isn't you being stupid or you being incapable or helpless. Help is saying, I am actively desiring to know how to do this. So instead of feeling like I'm stuck, I'm going to seek how to do this. That's a huge difference. You know, when I give people baby steps, a lot of times they take it as, oh, I have to just do this and I have to be good at it and get it done through the week. And then we'll hop on our call and they'll be like, yeah, I tried, I ran into struggles, and I hadn't heard from them all week. You know, so reach out, get the help you need. You can either be pissed off that you don't just know how to do it automatically and continue never knowing how to do it, or you can say, aha, this is what I need help learning how to do. And then once you learn, that problem is solved. Again, we have a bunch of newbies. So my veterans, you're going to hear this quote yet again, okay? But it is my favorite. Who knows which one I'm about to say? So, Dyson. Everybody knows the ridiculously overpriced plastic ball kind of vacuum, the Dyson vacuum. They actually had, before they had their first functioning prototype, they failed 5,122 times. So, if you're frustrated about trying a recipe that doesn't work out, if you're frustrated about not knowing how to get around a justifiable moment, what is a worth it moment, whatever. If you get bummed out because you eat something, you realize after the fact that it's not hormone friendly. Think of 5,122 times that the founding members of Dyson had to learn how wrong, incorrect, and how little they knew to get them to where they are now, which is a multi-billion-dollar company that's been around for like 20 years. If anyone can figure out anything, so can you. Just keep remembering that. I know our self-worth every day makes that hard, like our lack of self-worth makes that really hard. But you guys are capable of learning and doing whatever the hell it is that you really set out to want to learn and do. It just is a matter of seeking that information. Let's see, what else did I write here? Yeah, you know, here's a big one. And it's funny because I say this and then people tell me after the fact that I am in no way, like, I'm always like, okay, I'm going to give you some tough love. I hope I don't upset anyone. And then I'll have people be like, that wasn't tough. Like, you didn't upset me at all. So I hope that that doesn't happen, but I'm going to be bold here. You should want your results just as much as you do when you see a picture and bash yourself as when it's not a crisis happening. Don't only want your results when you're blatantly aware that you don't have them. Remind yourself of what you're going for in the quiet moments, in the moments during the day where you're not beating yourself up, where you're not like, try to fill that void with the mindset of, I do want this. Because if you're coming into this or into anything, hoping to have daily motivation naturally, then you are chasing a freaking unicorn. Life is stressful. I mean, pandemic or not, life is stressful. You know, nobody just continues with that same motivation. Typically, the negativity is what motivates us. The hating the way we look, the hating the way we feel, the not knowing what to do, the bad feelings, that's what motivates us. But if you let that be your only moment of motivation, are you ever, like, how are you going to feel when you don't hate yourself anymore? How the hell are you going to be motivated? Because the goal is to have you not hating yourself, right? So don't let that be your measure of motivation. It's just doing a disservice to you. It's the very thing you're seeking to get rid of, yet it's the only thing keeping you reminded of why you're doing this. So try to remind yourself why you're doing this all the time. Nobody can give you that motivation. It just has to fall on you in terms of the decision to try. So let's see. The more worth it moments you have, the more that moment is worth more than your results. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking about things that way, and you know you can have, let's say, I have a lot of beer lovers in here, and I always talk about, like, those of you who haven't gotten your baby steps yet, don't even worry about this. But let's say your baby step is gluten, right? And there's somebody offering you a beer and you're like, I really love beer. Do you love beer more than knowing when your period's coming? Do you love beer more than having your skin clear, not feeling bloated, getting regularity in digestion? And it's okay if that's yes. But that should be a part of your worth it process. And there are gluten-free beers. One of our ladies, I was talking to her about her passion project, and it came up randomly because she was upset. She loves beer, and she was like, it's such a big part of, like, it's not just like your average, like, I love Miller Lite. Like, she loves, like, craft beers, the process, the breweries, just the whole thing behind it, the history behind it. I get it. I'm a wino, but I said to her, I was like, hey, what do you know about gluten-free beer? She's like, well, I haven't really tried any. So I'm like, that's a perfect passion project idea. Why don't you create an Instagram to review gluten-free beers? You can order them special. You can go to special stores to get them, just like with the craft beer. It's not about saying no to things you love. It's about finding out what's worth it and replacing it somehow with something that's still enjoyable. So this is a big one here, because I got a lot of people. It's the double-edged sword. I'm seeing a lot of, like, great client results and great client testimonies. You guys keep the pictures coming, but I think I said this last week too. I know for a fact when I put up, like, before and afters of clients or myself, I get messages from a lot of different clients feeling upset, like, not jealous, like they wish ill will on the other person or they're not happy for the other person, but this deep feeling of, like, why the hell can't I have that? Like, oh, it's never going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And this is where the tough love comes in. Look inward. Stop wasting stress, time, effort, energy. Stop creating an adrenal response from just the panic of it, right? Stop thinking like, poor me, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Because look, I've been there, but nothing gets solved from that place. So it becomes a personal choice to not succeed at that point, as much as it feels like it's not. Each of you have the power to seek whatever it is you want. So if you see somebody having a crazy before and after, then take that and say, like, oh man, I wish I could have that moment, feeling like I have that big, just that transformation. Look inward. What things can you get more consistent about? What's one thing you can get more consistent about? What is something those people are doing that maybe you're not? Don't be afraid to seek those, because it's not a matter of you being a failure. It's a matter of you not giving up at prototype number 4,000. You know, if you look at someone having something you want, ask how they got it. You know, it's how each of us are friggin' here, you know. Say, like, you know, how did you get better at doing X, Y, and Z? Talk amongst each other, encourage each other. Don't feel like it's either you're going to get slapped with the label of possibility or no results. We're all capable of them. But if you stay in a place of poor me, instead of going, what did they do differently than me? Then that keeps you right where you are, and it becomes a choice. And I know none of you want to consciously make that choice to stay there. How can I get consistent is my favorite question. So if ever you just want to direct that to me and say, I'm trying really hard with this baby step, how can I get consistent? Then we'll dive into that. It is doable. It is doable, even if it really doesn't feel that way. But don't let other people's results be the reason you feel that way. They have no control over what is possible for you. All right, so the second little, I'm like schwitzing over here. It's so, I need to put air conditioning in here. So the second little bonus part of today, I don't want to take up a ton of time with this because I know we're running over, but asking for help from people. Here, I'm just going to give you guys some pointers, because I see the common thread I see from people is they don't ask for help until they're being bitchy about it, until they're freaking out, until they're screaming, until they're going ugh, and giving an attitude and making passive aggressive comments. I have been there. I think to a degree it's a little bit of just being human and stuck in the same place with each other for so long. But I'm going to give you some tips on how to make communication and asking for help a little bit easier. There is another video in the page already about the emotional side. I'm just going to give you some straight up advice for action steps. So you got to stop acting pissed the first time you ask someone to do something clearly. That's just number one. Yes, we can sit here and say, I don't understand though. If the garbage is overflowing, what does he think? The garbage fairy's going to come along and like take it out? I don't understand. I don't want to have to tell him to do it. I don't want to have to remind him to do it. We both live here. I don't want to have to do anything besides eat grapes fed to me on a chaise in my backyard next to my pool. But unfortunately, it is just what it is. You know, so it becomes a matter of choice. Do I want to have to beat my head up against a wall, feel unappreciated, and still have to do it myself? Or do I want to just find a way to nicely ask? And then my chances of it getting done are way higher. So don't let it build. Because you know why it comes out pissy? Because in your head, now tell me if any of you guys have done this before, because I know I have. In your head, you've been building your case. Like you've been mounting your argument all day. Every time you walk past that freaking garbage can. Every time you walk past him and he's looking on his phone, scrolling and laughing like not a care in the world. You know, in your head, you're like, yeah, it must be freaking nice to be able to like sit around and not care about things. You know, you're starting that dialogue already. So when you're ready to say something, it's not going to come out nice. You've been reaming them out in your head, and now it's time to make the debut. Like it's going to come out with that frustration. So imagine if instead you just looked at them and said, "Can you please take the garbage out right now for me?" You don't even have to add the "for me." You both use garbage. They create garbage. They use dishes. They create laundry. They helped create the kid, or at least help you be guardian of them. Like it's a joint effort. So, and I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, if you ask them in a way that wasn't pissy, they probably wouldn't have such a hard, like they probably would just be, oh yeah, no problem. And you know what? If you have to repeat yourself, it's okay to say, hey, I don't want to nag you, but would you mind stopping what you're doing right now and just taking the garbage out for 2 minutes? It's still not bitchy. It's reminding them because maybe it slipped their mind. I don't know. It must be bliss to be able to live like that. But At the end of the day, you got to weigh your options. Am I going to be stressed and not get what I want, or am I going to be direct and this will be over with in a minute when he finally takes the garbage out? They finally take the garbage out, you know? You have to be okay with asking for help without emotional connections and attachments to their response, if they'll like it, if they'd rather not. When has anyone asked you those questions? Or have you just done what you got to do this whole time? They do what they had to do as well. If you weren't made, like, you know, saying like, oh, you know, like I'll rather just do it and avoid having to ask. You're making that choice for them. They probably don't give a shit. They probably like, okay, yeah, no problem. And the other thing, this is a big one. They, in quotes, they put up with so much already. I should just do it because then they'll think I'm useless. In such few words. You know, this is one I hear all the time. Well, you know, they work all day. I hear this from people from you guys who work and also have a home to maintain. And like sometimes I have to be like, wait a minute, don't you work too? And then you go like, you'll laugh and like, yeah, haha, yeah, actually, now that you mention it. Stop that. Stop it. Stop being afraid to be needy. I'm not saying, you know, make them, unless you're into this, and I don't judge, but I'm not saying make them your, like, you know, your bitch. Like, I'm not saying like make them do everything for you and like you get away with doing nothing. That's how it works out. Good for you. But I'm just saying, we put so much emotion behind asking them. We put so much emotion behind being needy. It's a partnership. You know, it's okay. It's okay. And I bet you anything, the frustration you're going to save from not being passive aggressive, from not coming at them fast and screaming at them. And they're just like, I didn't even know you were pissed. You know, avoiding all of that is going to, one, save you a lot of stress. Two, get your stuff done better, faster, more often. Three, make you less pissed. So I don't know, let's say you want to be more bang bang time. Who knows? I'm just saying it's a little side effect, could be, because it helps you're not at each other's throats all the time, you know? There's just a lot of good that comes from asking. And we're so busy thinking of the bad that comes from asking that we miss out on all that. So don't be afraid. As long as you're nice and upfront and just direct, what are they mad that laundry exists? Or that your kid needs a bath? They were there for the creation of the laundry. They were there for the creation of the kid, you know, like, if they're mad about it, they can go to therapy, you know, like they can maybe get a coach, but it's not your problem if they're mad about a task they have to do. They're not looking at you negatively. And if they are, they're looking at the wrong person there, because then they should be like a zero waste person. And then you wouldn't have to worry about cleaning up after themselves. Let's see. If you weren't around, they'd still cook for themselves. If you weren't around, they'd still have to clothe themselves, clean those clothes, put stuff away. So I know I'm kind of drilling that point home, but stop acting like it can't be a joint effort, because then you're failing. It could be a team effort. It's all about mapping it out. They'll probably be excited to have more direction, because how many of your partners right now, if you were to ask them, if I were to give you a clear blueprint on how to not piss me off and for us to get along and get stuff done together and we'll have less stress, how many of your partners would be like, oh my God, give me that blueprint? That blueprint is in just being upfront and asking for help and not feeling emotional about it, or like it's an indication of you. Okay. So I know today's call is a little bit longer than usual. So great to see some of you. Well, I want to say your faces, but your screens, some of our newbies, welcome. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to go before I have heat stroke, but if you have any questions, if you want to elaborate more on this call, I love feedback. Send it on over. Enjoy the rest of your week. And yeah, go forth and conquer. Bye.